Obviously, we're talking about remote learning more than anything at the moment. The way that we can utilize Teams and Microsoft to assist in education is always a growing and important question. But really, I think the question at the moment is how can faculty transfer these campus experiences to online experiences for all of the students that still aren't on campus? Now, in the case of the University of New South Wales, in Australia, our campus is open, students are allowed to come back on campus, except we can't have gatherings of more than 10 people. So all of our 300 to 500 person lecture theatres are beyond useless at the moment. We need to be able to deliver the course multimodally or bimodally to both the students who are actually physically in the campus and the students who are remote, who are international at the same time. And the fact is that this is what vice chancellors have been wanting to do for a decade now, which is open up their university enrolments to online students. And now finally we have the motivation to actually build out that system. So I have been teaching using Office 365 now. I'm sort of in the fourth year, I guess, of my journey or pivot, which put me in a relatively good position. I'm teaching a class at the moment of about 300. And what I first started doing was using digital ink and OneNote, and I would share that OneNote with all of my students. Today, I'm asking questions that are a little bit further forward along the thought process, not just how can I move my course online, how can I keep student engagement using Teams and video call, but what are the core experiences of the university campus experience that need to be able to be translated online? So we're really trying to move the live lecture experience to something that's a bit more personable. Even the simple idea that I'm able to gesture and I'm able to physically point at a slide and then dive into the actual slide itself and then circle things directly with pen, or even highlight things in a digital manner that comes across through the direct feed are really important for giving students a great experience. And the reason why I want to highlight this point compared to the, single face staring down at a shared PowerPoint deck is that we spend millions of dollars to make extraordinary lecture theatres. They have world-class environments, they have professional acoustics, professional microphone recording, professional video capture, and then we pivot to online teaching and it's somebody looking at their webcam or maybe a wall of faces. And we need to really think about, have we invested anywhere near the amount of effort in the online experience as we have invested in the on-campus experience? So this is an example just from my end of, what happens when we try to invest more effort in that more personable digital experience. And the second part of this is, of course, communication, which is that in the lecture theatre, students can just raise their hand or they can speak out and they can say something. Now, we've got a Q&A running here today, which is great. It is moderated and it also does run at a short delay. And I have been using live events, but this year now with 100% of my students being online, what I'm actually doing is I'm using channels in Teams, which will bring me to an important topic about organisation. And my meetings are actually channel meetings. And what I do is, whilst I have my PowerPoint deck, going, so let's say I minimize my team down the side and I've got my PowerPoint deck running that I'm talking about, I actually keep the chat running down the side and I capture it on the video. And this is the core element of what it is that we are trying to do, which is engagement. How do we make the students become part of the course rather than consumers of the course? It becomes engaging if I begin responding to Q&A, but even if you are dialing in and it is a live event, if your presence does not somehow affect what it is that I'm doing, it is a consumer experience rather than a collaborative experience. And this is the core element of how we make educational experiences authentic. And it really comes down to our pedagogical and our technological design. A couple of those things that I just want to lean into a bit. I've spoken about, the actual direct lecturer to student experience itself. That's really important. How does Teams support that? Well, for me, the extraordinary thing about it is the fact that everything is integrated. It's all one login, it's one place. I'm not jumping between different services. And we've seen student feedback and responses where they're saying, well, I have to go to this website with this login to do this, and I have to log in over here to go and do that. And, it's a Zoom call and a Zoom login for this, and it's a Google Doc for that. And, they're being thrown around all of these different services, and everything is occurring inside a silo. We really need to integrate all of these different experiences into one place. And the best place that we have to do that right now is in Teams, because Teams is part of Office, which is where we write our report in a Word document. It is where we can have our chat. It's where we can do our video call. It's where we can do a live event, such as what we are doing right now. Everything is in one place, in one login, and every single thing is collaborative and co-owned and co-authored and shared, including, for example, digital ink, such as OneNote, the digital whiteboard. And there is no other platform in the world right now that has that many things that are integrated into one place. So if you have a look here, for example, this is a whiteboard, and it's a problem that I solved just yesterday live in the class. I had the chat running down the side. I was looking at my PowerPoint lecture for my class. Maybe I could just go over here and I could open the lecture that I was running. And when we get to a worked example in the lecture, so let's say we get to our first worked example in the PowerPoint. Okay, here's one of our worked examples. So firstly, this lecture is a tab inside of Teams. The students have got that document in one place. It's week one. Their chat is surrounding week one. I've got a channel meeting that's in week one, and I'm here giving my lecture, and I'm inking, and I'm talking about different theories, and I'm sharing the screen at this moment so that they're getting a crisp experience, or I'm flicking between the view you see now and sharing the screen. And I get to this worked example, and I just tap my link at the bottom here. And it takes me straight to that same actual worked example. And now I'm starting to solve the problem live. I'm talking to the students. How am I going to solve this? They can unmute themselves and just say it, and I'll hear their voice. They can raise their hand, or they can say it in the chat that's cascading down on the side of the screen. And as they're doing that, I say to the students something like, oh, can anybody tell me what equation we should be using here? And the students will write it in the chat or say it, and I start using that equation. Maybe they'll say the wrong thing. So I'm going to actually start solving the problem with the wrong thing and see how long it takes the students to cotton on to what the mistake is. So you can see now that what is happening is not only are we delivering a better experience, not only have we organized things better, not only have we reduced the technological barriers, but the students are part of this. And not only are they part of it in the sense that, and I can show you here because it's the class notebook, they are all physically owners of this notebook. There's 300 students here that this is syncing to live in real time. But also, as I'm solving the problem, I'm working on the actual students' comments and engagement and focus. And if one of them says, I don't quite understand this, I might go off onto a tangent and do that. We have brought so much now of the physical experience to the digital, and actually even more so, something I want to emphasize is, what about the possibility that the online lecture can actually be better? And the reason why I bring that up is because in an average 2-hour lecture that I will give at the university, I might get about a dozen or so students who will put up their hand, who will make a comment, who will say something. The number of chat comments I got in my lecture in week 1 the other day, it's the Southern Hemisphere, so it's actually back to school for us, 250 comments in my lecture thread. That's 250 versus 12. So I have 20 times the number of student comments throughout my lecture because I was online rather than in person. We actually have the possibility of making a better experience for students by being online rather than thinking about survival mode or how can we translate, how can we turn it into it. So I've got a problem here that I've solved. It's in the class notebook. It's in a tab that says week 1 example 1 over here, and it sits within a notebook, and you might not quite be able to see this, but it sits in a notebook in the collaboration space under the heading of week 1 examples. And this week 1 examples tab actually lives over on Teams. So I'll just jump back over to Teams here. And within this team that I have for my class, I've got a tab here and it says week 1 stress and strain. And it automatically creates a notes tab, and the notes tab is in fact the digital ink that I have been solving live in class. And this is updating, this is synchronizing in real time. If we go back over here, I'll go to my class that I'm running right now. I'm going to my week 1 channel for stress and strain, and you can see that the first post that I have up the top here is an announcement, and it says week 1 stress and strain. I've got a nice custom graphic around it. I tag the team, I say welcome everybody to this week, and I point to a to-do tab which is going to run them through everything. Now in this to-do tab here, this is actually a SharePoint site, and this is really important because this kind of page is very familiar to educators who have used a learning management system, and they're used to laying something out on a page. Well, we can do that with the team site SharePoint pages, and in fact, they're better than learning management system pages because SharePoint is the actual repository of the assets themselves. So this is the actual PDF here. The links that will jump to the live events will keep us within this environment, and we have a fully integrated system. So the broad organization here is that we want to modularize our course into topics, and we want to modularize the topics so that they map exactly to weeks. And the reason is that I can have a week 1 channel, and in that week 1 channel, I can have discussion here that's happening around that topic. I have an actual post here that says, this is the channel meeting, okay, and it lives right here, and I can close that now. And then I can have the notes tab that I showed you, which is all of the inking that I did in that week. I've got my to-do slide, which is the SharePoint page that lays out to the students. Here's the summary of the content for this week. This is what I expect everybody to do. I've got my slides here. The slides actually live on the SharePoint site, and they're here, one click, easy for the students to find. I've got my quiz that I might run for the students. I've got a wiki, which is a place where students are going to share useful stuff that they find on the internet. And I've got my 2 lecture recordings that I've automatically transferred from the meeting over to a stream channel, which is also part of Office 365. They can hit play on that. It's got transcripts and it has accessibility tools. So every single thing that the student needs to navigate week 1, topic 1 is here. There's no learning curve, and everything lives within Office and can be integrated and aggregated against one another. In week 2, we create a new channel, we replicate this experience, and so on. What I've shown here is a basic layout, and the layout is great for the students. We understand that it's going to be easy for them to navigate and aggregate different things, but I've got 2 other tabs which aren't about topics, or 2 other channels, I should say. So the first one I have is my general channel, and in the general channel, what we're going to do is we're going to make general announcements about the course, and I'm going to invite students to really use this as a place to just talk. I mean, you know, maybe they want to say, hey, I'm finding this course really hard, or does anybody know the cheapest place to to buy a textbook or whatever it is. This needs to be a real community space for them. And there's a few other things that I'm going to have here. So I have a welcome to engineering mechanics page. It helps them get started. It helps them with all of the things I expect them to do with the course. I've got the global class notebook here. This is the part of the class notebook that holds the structure of all of the week's topics. A really important one is I have my assignments tab here. Now, I'm opening the one for my course, which I've only just started, so I haven't created any assignments yet. We're just week 1 here with this course. But when I create assignments for my students here, I'm going to give them, for example, for my lab, and I'm going to get to the lab in just a second, I'm going to give them a template for the lab report. This is a Word document. I'm going to put the headings in, and I create a proper professional Word document with styles and an automatically generated table of contents. This is a first year course. So what I'm trying to do is show them how to generate a professional document. Now, most first year students don't know how to do that. When I put it in assignments, every student that starts working on the assignment is going to be given a duplicate of that document that lives here on SharePoint. And what it means is that even though they're going to edit it natively on their desktop app, every edit they make is being synchronized and saved real time to SharePoint, to our OneDrive for Business. And when they finally submit that document, we actually have all of the telemetry and the version history of the assignment that they did. This is a boon against things like contract cheating, where all we get is a black box PDF. We don't know who did it or where it came from submitted. Turnitin is completely useless in terms of contract cheating, because contract cheating are real, genuine, authentic, original assignments. It's just that the student didn't write it. Now, I've got grades here. As we generate different assignments, the entire gradebook will be here. I have a recordings gallery. So I showed you that I pinned individual lectures. So I pinned the week 1 lecture to the week 1 channel, but I actually have a gallery here of all my lectures. It's just week 1, so I've only got my lecture 1 and 2 here. But as semester continues, this screen will completely fill up with all of the recordings. At no point am I uploading or downloading, because the lecture is recorded on the SharePoint backend via Teams, and all I do is I say, could you please put this into the stream channel, and it will automatically appear here. It's about 2 or 3 clicks. I think it's 2 clicks actually to do that. I have this fantastic tool here called Insights. Insights, all you need to do is at the beginning of your course, go add app Insights. It's built by the Microsoft EDU team, and what it does is it automatically creates a data service on the back end, and it will store all of the digital activity of the students throughout the semester. And so if I go to my 7 days activity here, I already have the information about, did my students join the live meeting? Were they commenting? Were they logging into Teams? Were they liking things? When did they do their assignment? When did they start it? When did they finish it? All of that activity is logged here, and you can see this was Monday. I just started my course, and there's all of this activity that's beginning here. But similarly, I can actually see students who haven't engaged in the course yet. I could look here very, very quickly and scan it, and I could go, oh, here's a row. There's one person here who hasn't engaged in the course in any way. Now, I can look through that and I could reach out to that student, but I can also export this data set, and I can connect this data set to a intelligent database. And this is what I do, which is I actually create a machine learning model to identify at-risk students. This kind of integrated data is absolutely priceless for me. The activity that's happening in the channel, the bots that I run in the channel, the data here, it all runs around this basic architecture of organization that I've shown you today. I've got one more tab here. It's the simplest one of all. It's a PDF. It's the course outline. It's an easy place for the students to go and check that official document that the university has. I've got one more channel that I'll just show you really quickly. There's nothing here really yet. It's called my lab channel. And what I'm going to be creating here next week is a virtual reality space. It is a digitization of my laboratory. Yesterday, we put a 3-dimensional camera in We filmed the laboratory with a bubble image that's going to be the wallpaper, and we've pointed 3 Azure Connect augmented reality cameras at our lab machine, and it's going to sit in the center of this 3D reality space. Now, you don't need a VR headset to navigate this. You can just navigate it like any 3D game that you would, but we're actually able to have students enter the virtual laboratory, be able to look around, be able to interact, and have to physically engage with the experiment. They need to know where to look in the machine in order to take the readings. They need to know where to click to start the experiment running. And it becomes an involved, engaged experience. They can only complete the lab by understanding the machine and the space and participating in it. And this is compared to, hey, quick, all of our students are online. Somebody take a video of the lab, the student hits play and they watches it. You can see everything is about this ontological shift from going consumer experience to an active participatory experience. And this is really what we're trying to do in every single element. So I think I've used up about my time today. I really wanted to focus in today about some of the specific issues of the remote teaching due to COVID. I've done many presentations where I've deep dived into the exact nuts and bolts of how my system works, and you can find those really easy if you want to, but I just wanted to talk about something a bit different today.